All right, here's what you may not know about me, South Africa. I bear grudges, mainly in matters to do with public affairs. I just can't let go of many of the issues that other people simply move on from when the next controversy or excitement comes along. I haven't let go, for example, of the fact that no one is in jail for the killing of Andries Tatane, the Marikana massacre, and Collins Khoza. I haven't let go of the fact that people's homes were demolished in Alexandra Township last year by the city of Johannesburg, and we were promised that there would be swift action, and yet we still wait for that investigation report. I haven't forgiven Tshwane Metro Police officers for manhandling that woman who was too afraid to stop for them at night and drove to the nearest garage only to be accosted by a swarm of abusive cops. Again, there we were promised action, and a year later, nothing. I think you get my point. I hold grudges when it comes to public affairs. And today, I invite you to hold grudges just like I do. Unscrupulous officials, corrupt, unpatriotic thieves, and treasonous looters in the public and private sector who engage in nefarious activities like fraud and corruption count on us moving on to the next controversy and never fully holding them to account. I think we have afforded them that benefit of short attention span for far too long. I think the time to be angry and unforgiving of fraud and corruption is now. And so we introduce this corruption scorecard to keep the spotlight on the scourge that's stealing from our future. We will keep it until we see real action, not platitudes. This gong will sound persistently until corruption becomes the aberration that it should be, instead of par for the cause in government and private business. So in that vein, let's start. On Sunday, we marked 8 years since the Marikana massacre, a post-apartheid atrocity for which no one has been fully held to account. Speaking at the commemorative event, one of the advocates for the victims and their families, Dalimpofu, used the saying that is common in the indigenous languages of this country, "Icala aliboli." It's hard to translate into English without losing its full impact, but it means no matter how long it takes, the day of reckoning with one's crimes must and does come. How apt. And I want to use the same expression in relation to the other sordid episode in our post-democratic history, in relation to which there seems to be no day of reckoning on the horizon, the 1999 arms deal. South Africa, it's exactly 21 years since your government started shoveling over 97 billion rand of your hard-earned tax rand towards the purchase of naval and air force equipment. 97 billion rand is what the expenditure was projected to be in 2014 when you combine the 46 billion rand the Defense Department had spent from the national fiscus since 1999 and around 51 billion rand in loan service fees and interest that government through the National Treasury had paid and was still due to pay for loans with international financiers for the purchases. It's a lot of money. And it's intergenerational debt. Many of the taxpayers who have been paying this debt off in the last few years were babies, if they were born at all, when the arms deal was concluded in 1999. Every rand that goes to service loans for the arms procurement is a rand we could have used to fund a child's education through NSFAS, COVID-19 social relief of distress grant, or building toilets in the 3,000 or so schools without proper toilets. A big part of the inflation of the costs was the role of middlemen who worked with international arms manufacturers to secure for them the finest cuts of the steak that was the South African arms deal. This Friday will mark exactly a year since the Seriti Commission's report on the arms deal was reviewed and set aside for a lack of prerequisite vigor of a proper investigation. In simple English, for being a sham and a whitewash. And yet our leader, who art in Mahlamba-Ndlovu, Cyril Ramaphosa, is tight-lipped on the so what now part of things. If Seriti was a whitewash, do we now consider the arms deal matter closed? Are we to believe that Shabir Sheikh was the only one proven to be corrupt, allegedly soon to be joined in that sin bin of infamy by Jacob Zuma and Thales only? Those three. I want to argue that digging up the graves where arms deal secrets are buried is of vital importance in ensuring that government's newly declared vigor in fighting corruption is taken seriously. After all, the arms deal is often referred to as democratic South Africa's original sin. The moment we lost our innocence and realized that even those who had stood on the right side of history in the struggle against apartheid were not immune to the allure of ill-gotten gains at the expense of the people they vowed to serve. We sent off questions, of course, to the presidency on this matter. The presidency's response, as expressed to me by Ramaphosa's acting spokesperson, Tyrone Seal, is that the court that set aside the Seriti cover-up didn't order a new commission of inquiry as a remedy, and this administration's preference is to strengthen law enforcement agencies so they pursue all corruption. Fair enough, I guess. Except one of those supposedly strengthened law enforcement agencies, the National Prosecuting Authority of Shamila Patoi, Hermione Cronje, and Sipho Ngwema, doesn't believe this is an issue they should account to you about. And the Hawks, well, when it comes to this particular cold case, they seem to be still looking for their manicured claws. But we refuse to forget and to flip the page on this scandal that has robbed us of so many billions.